In this demo, I'm going to show you how the new Always Encrypted feature works within SQL Server 2016. Again, the demo I'm going to show you is located on the TechNet Virtual Labs. If you go ahead and select SQL Server, you'll see the Always Encrypted lab. When you go to it, you can go ahead and get started now, and then you'll sign in with your Live ID credentials and then launch the lab. Now I already have the lab launched, so let's get into it. So within Management Studio, what we're going to do is create a database with that we're going to demonstrate the Always Encrypted capabilities. And what this allows us to do is essentially encrypt columns of data so that throughout the whole UI and within your application, the data is encrypted across the system. So to get started, we'll go ahead and create a new database. We'll call this Clinic. And just use the defaults. We're just going to create one table in there. And now that we have that set up, we need to go ahead and set our location key. So when we go ahead and expand out Clinic, we'll see under Security some new items in here, one of which is the Always Encrypted keys. So if we right click on that and select New Column Master Key, this will allow us to specify a master key for our environment. And so in this case, we're going to go ahead and call this CMK1 is the name of the master key. And for the key store value, we're going to go ahead and use the default values here. And what's going to happen is we're going to generate a self-signed certificate as part of this action. So this will go ahead and generate this certificate. And now we can go ahead and click OK to create the key. So now under the key here, we'll see our column master key. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and generate our column encryption key. And again, what we'll do here is we'll go again under column encryption keys. We'll right click and say new key. And here we'll call the key CEK1, and we'll select our master key that we just created and click OK. So now we have our two keys set up for doing our encryption. Now let me show you what would happen as part of the demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and open up one of the files that I've used to create the tables. And so we'll go to recent files, Always Encrypted here. And so normally what would happen, you'd go ahead and create your patients table. And this is just a simple patient file, but it has two columns, SSN for social security number and birth date, that are sensitive columns. Now there's an application that's in the hands-on lab Always Encrypted directory that goes ahead and generates 3 records into the database. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. We'll type in the name of our server and the name of the database. And that should hopefully have generated 3 records here. So if we go now and select from our patients, you'll see our 3 records, and our social security numbers are in the clear and our birth dates are in the clear. That's bad. And so the problem that Always Encrypted is solving is how do you encrypt that data. So I'm going to go ahead and drop our patient table. And the next thing we're going to do is recreate the table with the encryption. So here we're going to go ahead and create the patient table. Now the change here is on the social security number. We've gone ahead and added first off a collate sequence, because in order to get this to work we do need a Latin 1 general bin type. If we didn't have that collate sequence in there, the default, we would get an error. And then we have encrypted with, and then we specify our type, deterministic versus random, our algorithm, and our column encryption key. So let's go ahead and create this table now. And hit execute. So now that we've got the table created, we can go ahead and run the app again. Now one thing I should point out, if you try to run the app, you're going to get an error. And I'll just show you what's happening. type in clinic, or maybe not get an error. So if all works, we've got our data added in, and this is good. So now we'll go back to Management Studio and now select our data and execute. And now you'll see here our Social Security numbers and our birth dates are encrypted values, so that we don't see them in here. So that's always encrypted. In the TechNet lab, there's also an example of how to use Profiler to go ahead and diagnose what's going on. If you happen to run into any issues with the application as it's generating data, just as a tip, there's a Visual Studio project that's set up for the Always Encrypted demo, so the source file is located in the project. You can open up the project file and just make sure that your target framework is set to .NET Framework 6.5 in here, and then you can go ahead and run the application from the actual command windows.